Hello there. Welcome to the SuiteCX 100 level course. Thank you for joining today. This class takes usually about 60 minutes and hopefully I can get through it in even less than that time. So if you are receiving this class, you probably have already set up an account with SuiteCX. So we're going to be getting you just accustomed to the look and feel of the software, high-level functionality, and how to kind of navigate your way around. And also we will hone in on a few important principles to help get you started. So with that said, off we go. I'll be using these class chapters as a guideline, but I'll also be toggling into the tool itself so that you can see the screens. So SuiteCX is a software product. The main objective of our software product is to help you do journey mapping and to make really good journey maps. And the software is designed to emulate a workflow. Some of you may have noticed this when you logged in. Some of you didn't notice it, so I will call it out for you here. Basically, our approach or our methodology with consulting and doing journey mapping work is to start sort of left to right on this slide here with customer data, insights, feedback, surveys, mystery shopping, voice of customer, voice of employee, voice of institution, whatever you have, whatever you can get access to give you some input so you understand what's going on with your customer experience. From there, we do journey mapping. We bring in scores and metrics where appropriate. From that, we will be able to come up with some strategies. Strategy could be related to that particular experience. It could be related to some gaps in the experience, some opportunities. It could be marketing communications related. And we will dive into that using the data that we've collected and the maps that we've made. From there, you move into this whole idea of process redesign. Technology evaluation could be a part of that, where you're actually seeking to make improvements to your customer experience based on the information that you've received. And then ultimately, all of this should be driving us into a form of change management. So we certainly don't do journey maps just for the sake of doing journey maps. We want to be doing journey maps in order to get us to making changes that positively impact and affect the customer experience. So what is SuiteCX used for? SuiteCX has been used across many clients around the world for a variety of reasons. And some of those reasons are summarized here, just basically sorted by order of magnitude or number of people who said this is why they use SuiteCX. The top reason is just need to improve their journey mapping and technology capabilities. Some people are looking for vital insights. There's a need to understand the customer experience and journey mapping as a practice. That's a popular one. The need to make improvements on a current customer experience, needing to understand and improve current data situation and structure. In other words, how are we delivering on our customer experience? We get asked sometimes to help support marketing technology initiatives, create case studies, help improve internal company communication with large companies that are very siloed, which really may not know what the other departments are doing. Sometimes self-evaluation is the priority, and sometimes we use the journey mapping software to dive into a company-specific problem. Like, for example, maybe you know what your number one customer complaint is, and now we just need to figure out why is that your number one customer complaint and how do we work to fix it? So how do you access SuiteCX? You should have received a welcome email from the SuiteCX team, and with that will be the URL that you use to access SuiteCX. We are a web-based software, along with your username and password. As far as browsers go, we recommend using Firefox or Chrome for the best experience. We don't support IE, and we are no longer supporting Safari at this time. So if you're having a clunky user experience, it's potentially related to your browser. So it would be a good idea to switch over to Chrome or Firefox. And we do have this concept of having accounts. So you may have an account with SuiteCX, and within that account, you have access to what we call suites, which are projects. And within projects, you have journey maps, and you can basically have as many journey maps as you want within a project, and you can have as many projects as you want within a suite. So we are available to help. This comes down to governance generally. So how do you want to set up your account suite project structure? And we can also talk about maybe how you should be naming your journey maps and how you can tag and name your interaction points so that everything is well organized from your side, and so that your users can navigate through SuiteCX easily and kind of know where to go to find the information that they're looking for. So before I jump into the navigation of SuiteCX, I'd like to land on this screen for just a moment. So a lot of you, when you first get SuiteCX, you will find yourself coming to a screen that looks like this. So you have the full software. This is just a, we call this a training project. So we created this project to provide a little bit of additional coaching as you work your way through. And what you have here is basically a series of videos. So we have videos loaded here around getting started, navigating the software, going to your project page. We have content here around mapping. So if you click through this, you'll find a series of help files, instruction manuals, and guides. And this is just here to give you a tutorial basically when you're getting started. Now, if you're in here and you're a little bit thrown off by this, don't worry, this is supposed to be here. Also, we've got SuiteCX examples and case studies available here at the bottom. We have a Bank of the West case study, Kimberly-Clark, Starwood, and Xanterra Parks and Resorts. You can also click email your coach, and that'll send an email over to the training team. If you want to get out of this at any point, just click on the CX at the top, and that will take you out of training mode, and now you're just in regular SuiteCX mode. And from here, you can just go ahead and use the software. This is going to be a demo project, so we've loaded it already with a little bit of data for you to play around with. And at any point, if you would like to get back to the guided trial, then just click on the little feet in the footer, and that'll take you back to this view here. So I just wanted to address that because I've had some people ask me about that. So once you're in, how do you navigate around? So let me go ahead and sort of back up just a minute. So when you log in, if you don't go directly to this view, then you may find yourself on this view. This is what we call our project list page. This is where, by the account that you've set up, we've got every project that's available in your account, and you can take a look at each one of them from here. So for now, I'm going to click into this project. The project name is Tri Global Air Retail Insurance Automotive. We use this one as one of our demo projects because we have a lot of data loaded. So this is where I'll be sort of toggling around today just to give you a view of how things kind of look in a project that's a little bit more fully baked. So what we've got going on here is we have this concept of working from left to right. So starting in the left, remember when we talked a little bit about our workflow? What we want to do in the very beginning is we want to collect data. We want to pull data in from our customers, from our employees, from our institution, anywhere we can get data among those three audiences. That's kind of where we want to start. So we've designed our workflow sort of left to right to encourage you to think in those terms. These parts of the software operate independently from each other, so you don't necessarily have to use each one of them, but you do have opportunity to use them. And if you do use them, there are pieces that will carry through and be connected to other parts of the software. So just as a high-level introduction today, the first one here is VOC. That stands for Voice of Customer. And the way that you click around, you just click on the titles of these screens. And that's how I'm moving around from one module to another. There is also a little bit of functionality in the footer. So that's where you might want to look for some additional paging or content or action items. This first screen is our Voice of Customer survey results. And you can page through this. We also have a verbatims screen here and a freeform graphing tool, as well as a maturity model. We'll talk a little bit about this today in a little bit more detail. We have our CX tab. This is where you'll be doing all of your journey mapping work. We have a findings report. This findings report is generated from your voice of customer survey results or from your interaction points. We also have a recommendations report. And then if you look in the bottom in the footer, you'll see there's paging here as well. This also has a little heat map. And we have our prioritization module, which I'll kind of give you a high-level overview today as well. And then from there, we have our initiatives 2x2 diagram. And ultimately, all of this work should be leading us to our roadmap. So that's basically how you navigate around SuiteCX. For this class today, we're going to spend all of our time pretty much in the CX tab with just a little reference to the other tabs, just so that you can kind of get a feel for how they work. Up at the top, you'll see what we call breadcrumbs. This will tell you where you are. So right now within SuiteCX, this is the account that I'm in, and this is the project that I'm in, and this is the journey map that I'm on right now. Here's my welcome information. So this is me, my account, and here's where I can sign out. This question mark will take you to our help system, and the help system is actually where I'm leading the class from today. So all these files that I keep referring to with the class information and the outline, that's in the help system. So you have access to that as well. You have access to all these training modules if you click on that question mark. And then also at the top, we have a little Bugs Me issue reporting toggle. This is where you can, if you think that you found a bug, you can send an email to our developer team. Please do attach an image with that so we can help resolve it. And then we have a edit this project toggle at the top. So that's kind of it for the top level navigation. You will occasionally find functionality in the footer, and you will also find functionality up here on the right. So if you're on the CX tab, we have a series of functions that we use on this screen here. And this is going to take you, most of these items here are going to be everything that you're going to need for all of your journey mapping capabilities. We have the adding an Eyepoint. This is our Eyepoint library. This is where you can go grab Eyepoints. We have storytelling elements. This is where you can go get all kinds of cool and colorful and interesting content that you can double click on and add to your map canvas, including text containers and image containers. We have, I'll zoom out a little bit. We have edit this map. This is where you will go and you will be editing the map that you're on. We have our printing capability here. We have our navigation to go to our map database, where you go to the centralized location of all the maps that you've created in your project. We have a statistics package here. You can download the Excel version of your journey map as a data tabular report. You can also take a look at the statistics of your map. So this will give you a high level overview of what's happening on your map from a data and a trending perspective. And then we also have access to our Eyepoint database, which is a little bit more advanced than what we'll cover today. You can use these options to create views and filters and toggles. So just feel free to start using those and click around and get yourself familiar with how those work. So SuiteCX Diagnostics, we created a sort of a comprehensive "you are here" insight into a company's current state customer experience based on our proven methodology that we've used in over 100 customer experience projects. So all of our diagnostic screens and all of our diagnostic capabilities are available right now under the VOC toggle. So this is where you can basically upload the results of a survey. So that survey could be a voice of customer, voice of employee, voice of institution, and we would be happy to help you with that. If you click on edit in the footer here, you will see the process involved with uploading the results of a survey. And each step pulls in a different set of data. So you've got things like the scale of your survey, how many levels you have, the titles of those levels. We have survey categories, so your results can be grouped by category. We have audience labels, so we can store up to 4 different audiences per survey, assuming you ask them all the same questions. We have the ability to remove outliers or show them all. We can do some benchmark work here where we bring in some benchmarks. We can upload the actual survey itself. That's the most important step, step 6 here. We've got the ability to include verbatims. So the tool allows you to load up to 5 pages of verbatims with, I believe, 8 verbatims per page. So that's a fair amount of verbatims, 40 total. You can add findings and recommendations, and you can also use our free-form graphing tool. Now, all of this is available under that VOC toggle when you click Edit in the footer. And to get out of Edit, you just click View, and then you can look at the results. Now, the project that you've been given probably doesn't have any VOC data loaded, so you won't see all these screens. But do reach out if you'd like some help with this. We can work with you prior to your VOC survey execution. We have a database of questions and answers, findings, and recommendations that we can work with you to tailor for your audience and for your product and your business. Or if you've already done your survey, we can look at the results of your survey and then help you structure the data so that it can pull into SuiteCX appropriately. Those are our diagnostics screens. A little bit about the journey mapping. So creating journey maps is really one of our very core capabilities. And in the past, this whole thing kind of started with sticky notes on the wall, describing a touch point or an interaction point between a customer and a company, and then the experience that the customer had. So in our very most simple form, that's what we're doing here. We're just bringing things into the tool in an electronic fashion. We do call our interaction points Eyepoints. So it's the same as a touch point, basically. It's where your company or your brand touches your customer. Our planning features really came from our consulting practice. So we do have the capability to pull forward findings and recommendations. We can then prioritize the recommendations based on an impact and feasibility matrix. Then we can give you a view of a 2x2 diagram so you can see what should I do now versus later. And then that can all drive into a roadmap view. And within our roadmap views, we have project charters. So the concept of precision marketing is just the idea of sort of taking your current state marketing communications path, doing an analysis on what's working, what's not, and then creating a more precise future state journey mapping strategy and marketing communication plan. And then, of course, our help system, which I already told you how to access. So that's the super high level 10,000 foot overview of the different features and capabilities in SuiteCX. So now I'm going to give you kind of a high level overview of the mapping capabilities in SuiteCX. So let's talk about sort of how you begin. Now, we have recently updated our UX. So some of these screen grabs that you see in these help files don't look quite like our tool does today. So what I'll do is I'll just use the outline here as a guide, but we're going to actually click into the real live site so you can see how the UX looks today. So how do I begin? Like, how do I even get started? Let's start with let's just start with the very, very basics. I'd like to start with click on the CX tab. What is this view that I come to? Well, this is what we call inventory. So each project has one inventory. And your inventory is like your central repository of interaction points. This is where you have an opportunity to do an audit of all the interaction points that you have across an experience. You can take an entire life cycle end to end, or you can take maybe just a portion of that life cycle, like onboarding, or new ownership, or research and awareness, whatever it is you want to focus on. Then you organize that by either department or channel, usually, creating an X and Y axes. And then this is where we start just kind of populating our interaction points. And once we have our interaction points created and populated, then from there we can start to create journey maps, and it becomes a very easy exercise. I encourage people when I get started with them with coaching to spend the majority of their time working on the interaction point design, the inventory database design. And so then you can do your journey maps once you've got your Eyepoints all set up, and everything becomes so much easier. So a little bit about the Eyepoint. We do have some rules around the Eyepoint, and I'm going to open up this document that I think is very helpful. We work with a lot of different customers from a lot of different types of businesses, and we have this question comes up a lot. So if you look at my inventory of Eyepoints, each one of these little items is an Eyepoint. So what this means is this is a place where my brand or my company touches my customer, and I know some things about this interaction. In this case, I have a title and a description. I have flagged this as an outbound interaction. Maybe I know whether this is planned or unplanned. I might have insight into whether this is a pain point or a moment of truth or a conversion point. And then as you move your way through the Eyepoint, you have the opportunity to add tons of data. We have 170 plus data attributes at each interaction point level. So SuiteCX is really encouraging you to go three-dimensional, go deep, as deep as you can. Essentially, we treat our interaction points as their own centralized database of information. We've got scores. Here's where you can load your customer scores or your company scores. We have emotions. We have the concept of life cycle, department, and channel. We have up to 13 empty personas or segments available per project. You can define these, and then you can tag your Eyepoints at the persona level, and then you can also build your persona maps separately. We have the concept of paths. We have the concept of adding custom tags or attributes. So some of our customers have additional tags that they'd like to use on their interaction points, and we can configure that for you here. We've got the concept of doing thinking and feeling, findings and recommendations. We even include a recommendation score. You can upload attachments to your Eyepoints. You can connect to external links. You can choose an icon for your Eyepoints. Those of you who are on your own server, and even if you're not on your own server, but if you have your own icons that you like to use, we can configure your icons in the system in your account so that you can use yours instead of using ours. You can change the color of the Eyepoint. Maybe I want to make this Eyepoint red, so I selected red, and now it's changed. You can use these colors as tags. These are all editable. You can change the background color of the Eyepoint. We have a whole metrics library behind each Eyepoint where you can start to add some of your transactional or performance metrics. We have campaign forms here. If this is a marketing communications piece, you can talk about how frequently this is executed, what are the details around this campaign, who created it, what's the campaign type, what is the promotion, what is the offer, when does it expire, etc. We have a history and usage here, so you have an administrative panel right at the Eyepoint level to see who created it and then who's been using it. And we also have the concept of membership. Membership is a really cool way to add Eyepoints to other maps in your project by simply opening up the membership for that Eyepoint and clicking on the journey maps that you would like to add this Eyepoint to. So lots of robust functionality at the Eyepoint level. Now back to this Eyepoint concept here. So where does data come from? There's all kinds of data in all kinds of places, and most likely wherever you are positioned in your company, if you're in the research department or the strategy department or the marketing department, you just have to reach across another silo to get the data that you need to help you do really good journey mapping. So this is just a little cheat sheet. So we kind of create this generic life cycle phase, awareness, consideration, first purchase, use, repurchase, attrite, and win back. And for each one of these life cycle phases, you have a series of metrics that you can go look at that would help you enrich your story and also help you understand what's going on with your customer. So this is a 5-page document that we are happy to share with any of you. If this is of interest to you, just raise your hand and we can email it to you. It is also available to you already in your help system. So a little bit about the Eyepoint. The Eyepoint has sort of some rules around it, and those rules are that it should be time-based with a beginning and an end. It should not be an infinite, ongoing, endlessly looping type of thing. We should be able to attach a measurable outcome to it, and it should have the concept of a before, during, and after. Now, there are things that sort of surround the Eyepoint and things that give the Eyepoint more character, and those would be scores, iconography, emotions, the title, any underlying data that you might add, like attachments or uploads, pictures, PDF documents, Excel reports, etc. We can show up to 3 actors on the face of the Eyepoint. We can show up to 3 segmentation or persona tags on the Eyepoint. And once you open up the Eyepoint, you have access to that whole database that I had open just a minute ago. So this one here is a really good slide just for conversation purposes. It's more of a philosophical slide. It won't necessarily make you better at using the tool, but it will certainly help you really think about what you're looking at and where it belongs. So what we have here is the interaction point is in the very center of the slide here. Everything that's happening above the line is what we call customer experience, what the customer wants. This is where your customer decision modeling lives. Voice of the customer is here. Customer decision processing is here. This is where we look at the thinking, doing, feeling, anything that the customer is expecting, their goals, their level of trust, activities and tasks that they're going through, jobs that they're trying to complete. And data that you can apply here would be things like demographic data, psychographics, buying behavior data, usage behaviors, value needs, etc. Now, everything below the line is essentially what we as a company can deliver. So what are we doing as a company to interact with this customer? Customer experience management fits here, customer research fits here, voice of the employee, voice of the institution, people, process, information, technology, and culture. And this is really where pain points live because we generally are the ones who are creating the pain or the barrier for our customer. This is where we put findings, gaps, recommendations, improvement areas. And this is all going to be where we describe our delivery channels, delivery departments. You can think of this as like below the line, back, or some people use the term backstage, whereas everything above the line would be like front stage or customer experience. Some of the metrics that we could tap into here would be like our scores around NPS and trust and customer satisfaction. All of our transactional metrics would fit down here, our media impressions, our website performance, our social media performance, anything that comes in through the call center, whatever we have around direct mail or email would fit here, and anything with like our technology, especially if we're working with like a technology platform and that is our product. That information would be super useful here in the below the line or backstage. So just a nice document here to kind of orient us all. The goal is also to get our terms aligned and come up with a similar vernacular in a similar language. We also have a glossary of terms that we usually work through with you, especially if you're getting a Kickstart package and we're coming out to train your team. We will definitely make sure that our terminology is aligned before we try to help you align your team to the work. Okay, so now that we know what an Eyepoint is, how do we create a journey map? So the map that I have up here is going to be your first journey map. This will be your inventory. And to create the inventory, you're going to be using a CSV file to do an upload, and that's a little bit more advanced than today, but we're going to talk about that in the 101 class, which you will probably receive also. And that's just going to give you an Excel template, an empty Excel template that will show you the fields available, and you'll start filling out all your interaction points into that Excel. And you can match your icons. You can load those in there. You'll define your life cycle by department or channel, and then you click upload, and then very quickly it gives you this project view with this database of interaction points. So once I've done that, how do I create a map? So the first thing we'll do is let's go to our map database. Even if you have no maps in your project, you can still go to your map database. And here are all the maps I've already created. But for now, let's go to add a map. So if I click on add a map, it'll take me to this place where I have a series of templates. We created the templates here just to help get you started, but none of the templates are fixed. You can change any one of these templates in any way you wish. So what I usually do is just kind of talk everyone through what the templates are. So if you want to hover over the template, you can click on example, and that'll pull forward a thumbnail view of what this map will look like when you click on it. So this is one of our newest maps. It's the idea of creating a problem over details concept here. And really what you're looking at is we've got this 3-bar journey map style that allows you to tell potentially 3 stories in one map template with some text on the top and text on the bottom. We have our basic story map. This will give you a super simple story map view with some emotional heat map and text. The text could be like thinking, doing, feeling. We have a story over process map. If you have a customer story, but you also have a backstage business process, this would be a good map to choose. We have we did that one. We have a story over data. So if you have some metrics that you want to represent in a bar chart or a pie chart, but you also have a customer story with maybe some creative imagery, this would be a good one. Story with custom background. In SuiteCX, you have the capability to upload a graphic design background and that you can drop Eyepoints on it and make it dynamic. This would be the one that you would choose if you had a background. We have a basic split screen story map. This would give you sort of that over-under concept, or maybe you're above the line, below the line. Customer graph with company graph. This is one of our new map template styles, and this is where you can use your company scores or your customer scores to create autographs. You can also use this in any other map too. Here's a basic process map. This is kind of like your lucid charts or Visio diagram. We have our executive summary map, which is kind of like a little bit of everything. We've got images, we've got a customer story, we have emotions and text, we have a backstage business process, and then we have another customer story, as well as some embedded graphs and metrics. We have a simple grid map. This looks just like your inventory map. It's just a grid map. It's just not actually the inventory. And then we have persona maps. These are very popular. And that's basically it for now. For today, just to help you get started, I'm just going to click on Basic Story Map. So once I've clicked on Basic Story Map, it'll open up a map editor where I can give my map a name and a description. Anytime you see one of these text bars, you can just click on it, and this will give you a chance to give your map some color if you want. Click Save and Close, and then basically here is your empty canvas. So this is basically just how you get started at the most simple level with creating a map. So editing a map, adding Eyepoints to maps. Let's talk about adding screen elements, telling a story. Okay, cool. Let's do a little bit of that. So now that I've got my basic story map started, I usually like to go ahead and figure out what my headers are. So this is where you can define your life cycle phases. Generally, we put those at the top. So this would be like awareness, consideration, first purchase, maybe there's a loyalty phase, and then there's maybe a repurchase. If you have more columns, you can just use this drop down to add those. If you have fewer columns, then you can use the drop down to take the columns away. Okay, click Save. Now, this is basically going to give you a starting point. And here's your journey map. Now, if you go to edit this map, this is where really the heart of the map configuration is. If you go into Change Row Functionality and Names, that's where you can really configure this map. So that's where you can decide what you want to have in each row. If you don't like the way that it's organized now, you can change it. Just click on any of these drop-down items and scroll through and see what's available, and feel free to make a change. For now, let's say I want to keep everything the same as it is right now, and I just want to go ahead and start filling it out. So we'll just leave everything as it is. And then the next row would be our story map. So this is where you can change the line style that's in the background. Let's pick a different line style and then click Save. And I'll close so you can see what I just did. I just selected a different line style, and now I've got it here. This is my my graph. I've got some empty containers here for text, and I've got an emotional heat map here too. So what would be next? Let's talk about how we add eye points to journey maps. So there's two ways to do it. The first way is to go grab them from your inventory. This is the preferred way, the recommended way. In order to do that, you click on this inventory filter. It says import from inventory, and then I can look at my eye points any way I want. I can show all, I can show by default rows, I can show by life cycle, I can show by emotional tags if I have them, or by direction if I have them. I usually sort by default life cycle. So now this is bringing me back all the interaction points in my inventory by life cycle phase, and I'm just going to grab a few to build out our journey map, and I'll kind of just randomly select a few from the awareness phase and then click back to map. Now that I've done that, these eye points are just going to appear in the upper left hand corner, and I can just click and drag them and put them wherever I want. So now these eye points are here. So this is the value of creating inventory. You create inventory, you build your data in inventory, and then you can use these eye points across the entire project really easily by just clicking import. So now let's go to edit this map, and I want to show you how to turn on or turn off the elements in your eye points. So this is a elements toggle. So if I go here, I can decide what I want to show on my eye point. So I want to show my actors, I want to show my emotional state, I want to show scores and segments, and I want to turn off connectors because I don't think I'm going to be connecting my eye points in this map. Click Save. And now you see my eye points look a little different. Now I've got my scores available, I have any pain points available, and any emotion that I've loaded, as well as persona tags. So I like this better, so this is what I'll use for now. The other way to add eye points to your journey map, you might say, well, what if I don't have an inventory created yet? What you can do is you can go to our eye point library and open this up, and then you just kind of look around for the eye point that you need. And everything here is organized by eye point type or eye point category. Once you found the appropriate eye point, you just double click and there it is. Now, when you do that, you won't have any data associated with it because it's brand new. So we can call this our call center eye point, added new. Here's our description. We'll say this is interactive, and this can be planned or unplanned, mostly unplanned. And this could be a really important listening post, and it could also be a moment of truth. So let's click Save. And then just for fun, let's give this a score. Let's say we're not doing too hot. We give it a score of 5 out of 9. Let's say our emotion here is not so good, maybe a little frustrated. People aren't having a great experience with our call center. So now I've given our call center, I've added it to the map, and I've given it a little bit of personality. Now, what if you say, hey, this isn't a very big canvas, I think I'd like some more space here. Then what I'll do is I'll go to edit this map, and I'll go find my row 3 story map. Right now I'm using a small story map. Why don't I use instead, I'll use a large story map, and I'm even going to add the one with scores. So click Save. and close. Now I've given myself double the space that I needed. And now I just have to see if I can get these lines to look like they did before. So I'll go to edit this map, row 3, and I'll go choose the lines I had chosen previously. Click save and close. Okay, so I'm back where I was before. There we go. Now, if you would like to add anything else to the map, like that's how you add Eyepoints. You either grab them from inventory, or you add them from the Eyepoint database. We also have a whole library of storytelling elements. So let's say you want to add a persona. Let me see here. Let's add Bob to the map. And I haven't checked to see if Bob is actually completed or not, but it looks like he is. So there's Bob. We'll figure out where he goes in a minute. Let's say, well, actually, let me close out of this so we can give Bob a place. Maybe Bob needs to go over here. Bob's really big. I think Bob might need his own space. We'll put Bob there for now. Okay, so this is connecting to your persona maps. If you've created those, if you haven't created those yet, then that won't be available. Then let's say you would like to add something else, like, let me zoom out a little. Let's say you've got your blue lines here on the journey map, but let's say you actually have something like this. So you have a job happening here, or maybe there's a loop or a recurring event. So you want to grab a journey map that looks, or a circle. You may have a bigger one. Let's say you have some really crazy stuff going on over here. You can grab a piece like that and then load your Eyepoints up against this background. How about any decorative or descriptive art? You can add that here. Maybe you want to add a person. Maybe he's a relevant persona to your story, so you can add him. We have all kinds of people of all different shapes and sizes. We've got text boxes of all kinds. I use the sticky notes quite a bit to add notes or insights, and you just type into them. And that will work just like that. We also have these little gadgets, like if you want to flag something, these are good to use for that. I use these a lot as flags. You can even say maybe this is a pain point if you really want to call something out. And then we also have things like text containers. And this is where you can just do some storytelling. All of the text containers can be formatted with a background, and you can align the text and resize them and sort of move them around. So there's a whole lot you can do right here just on the canvas. And this is a good way for you to just get started pulling in your Eyepoints. I'm going to remove this for now because I don't think it fits, but you see how that could work in a different map view. And then otherwise, just continue using your edit the map, just walking down the different steps. So this is your emotional heat map. So let's say we go from sort of curious or cautious in the beginning to maybe we're delighted because that's our first purchase and we're delighted with loyalty, but maybe repurchase isn't going so hot. So we'll just update our heat map and then click close, and then that gives us this chart here. The doing, thinking, feeling is just text. So when you get to that, you're literally just adding text here. And once you've added your text, click save at the bottom. And that will just appear where you've added it. And the graph is just a freeform graphing tool. So let's say we want to describe our marketing communications. So let's say we have direct mail, SMS, and email communications during each one of these phases. And for this phase, let's say we do 2 of these, we do 3 of these, and maybe we do like 6 of these. And so I'll update that data there and click save and close. And now I've just given myself a bar chart. So that's it. It's pretty easy. Just click, 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 and start dragging things around and putting things on the journey map and using them. And really, it just comes down to your artistic capabilities. And also remember the key to telling a good story. You don't necessarily need to show all your eye points on these maps. You just want to show the most important eye points. The inventory can be your central repository where everything lives. And then from here, you can just kind of query and filter and sort and search and do journey mapping stories from here. So hopefully that gives you a nice little background. Now the inventory is also super valuable just as its own map. The thing that we love about inventory is when you have this all laid out, it's a really good way to identify gaps. You know, you could find that there are whole areas where you're not really touching your customer at all. And then of course, what we call the wall of shame. It's also a great way to find places where you're touching your customer too much. So that's why we really encourage everyone to start with the inventory, get everything audited and described and documented, upload it into the tool using our CSV template. And if you're wondering, where do I find the CSV template? Let me show you. So what you do is you just go back to your project list page, which is where we started today. And then you scroll down to the bottom of your list of projects, or you just click import on any one of the existing projects. And then you just say, I'd like to upload a new project using a CSV template. And there's a little help center on the right. And this will give you the template. So you can just click download and you'll have the template. And then it gives you the really good detailed instructions on how to fill out the template. And it also has our icon library here so that you can populate your eye points with an icon at upload. Then you just choose a file, you upload the file, you name your project, and then off you go. I am going to be doing that with you in our next course, which is the 101 course. We will start by looking at an actual completed CSV file and we'll upload one together. If you would like to start a project in the meantime without using a file, then you can certainly do that. The other option, if you go back to your project list page, is to go to import and then at the bottom say create new project with our wizard. If you click on that, this will give you just a blank project with some sort of placeholder data. You can choose lifecycle by department, by channel. You can choose a B2B version or a B2C version. It'll be pre-populated for the X and Y axes, and then just click save, and then you'll have your very own blank project to start working from. So do that. If you'd like to start that way, then that's a great way to just get familiar with the software and clicking around and kind of how to use everything. The rest of this course I've pretty much already gone over. We have our high-level survey readouts. You can upload survey results. We have our verbatim screens. These come in all different designs. These are really actually quite cool. I definitely, even if you don't load a full survey, you may want to just tap into just loading some verbatim so that you can have access to the screens. We have a maturity model, which we create automatically, a findings report and a recommendations report. The recommendations all get pulled forward into the planning module. And the planning module will give you the opportunity to prioritize your initiatives. From there, we create a 2x2 diagram and we go out into a roadmap. And each roadmap project has a charter view for you to treat like a typical project management charter with like dependencies and description and benefits and everything. So all of these survey and roadmap capabilities, those will be covered in our 102 course. Our 102 course has not changed. The UX is the same as it was before. So reach out if you'd like to dig into those. We have those recorded as well. And our 101 course is going to be all about journey mapping. Before I let you go today, I'm just going to show you kind of the outline of the 101 course so you can decide if this is of interest to you. The 101 course is for those of you who are really starting to use the tool and you need more than an overview and you're ready to start really getting into the sort of nitty-gritty, so to speak. So we'll talk about making the projects. We'll talk about importing Eyepoints, which we'll use our CSV file to do. We'll talk about exporting data. We're going to really zone in on the importance of inventory. We'll take you through some of the workflow concepts as a reminder. And then we're going to get into the different map types, which you did get an overview of today. We'll readdress the Eyepoint and talk about the Eyepoint, the data that you can load into the Eyepoint and sort of how that works. We will talk about saving versus auto-saving. We'll talk about uploading data to a map. We'll talk about pulling from inventory, which we did today, and we'll talk about using our persona maps and some of our more advanced maps. And we'll get into a little bit about the grid map view and all the different kind of cool things you can do on the grid map and the ways you can edit and change your grid maps. So hopefully you enjoyed this course today as a high-level overview. Do feel free to start clicking around in your software. Don't be afraid to play around, create a blank project, or go ahead and download the CSV file and start filling it out, and then practice uploading that file and see how it looks. And of course, as always, reach out to your coach if you would like a little bit more help. Thank you so much for attending, and I hope to see you all on the 101 course. Thank you.